Thanks for staying with us. Before we go healthy, let me just mention a story that flashed in my head concerning Prophetess Abimbola and the little boy that she helped. So I remember Wole Arole found this boy singing and posted it on Instagram, and the video went viral. Like, all these videos tend to go viral, and people sort of tried to support. But Prophetess Abimbola Esther Abimbola took up this boy, and for the past 4 years, we just see him occasionally in church, only for him to graduate this year from a very good school in Lagos. It wasn't about clout. It was just about being philanthropic, and we're highlighting it because there are many Nigerians who still see things on social media and pick up this person and help with all good intention, not to trend, not just to chase any clout, but just because they are good human beings. And so we shouldn't we shouldn't use the bad to paint the good. There's good and there's bad. Yeah. Now, moving on to our Healthy Tuesday topic. Mariam has laughed at my Healthy Tuesday, but then it's okay. Every year, on the 25th of July, the world comes together and we commemorate the World IVF Day. It's a momentous occasion, you know, to celebrate the remarkable achievements of the fertilization process and its impact on millions of lives. Joining us on the show is a consultant gynecologist with over 15 years experience, Dr. Babatunde Ogunkunle.
Yes. Pronounced correctly.
Ogunkunle. I'm feeling myself today. I got it. I made up last time I personalized one name.
Are you from my village?
So, before we came on the show, I was talking about how I tend to talk about this topic a lot, and almost every time I talk about the fact that it's passionate for me because I'm an only child, and I know many people that we have millions of children that are alive today because of something called IVF. That was their only opportunity to come in. But I would like you to just give us a background story of, many people don't even know what IVF is about. Surprisingly, we might just feel like it's a norm, but it's not. So tell us the idea of what IVF is about and where it is needed.
Well, IVF is a treatment option for infertile couples where the egg from the woman and the sperm from the man are brought together, and the fusion takes place in the laboratory and observed for growth, and the resulting embryos, that one or two transfer back into the woman's uterus. So with the intention that implantation will take place. It is not 100% successful, but however, amongst all the treatment of infertility till date, is the most efficacious.
Very interesting. So,
so it helps to overcome the barrier that may exist in the bedroom. Provides hope.
Yeah, to those that are having fertility issues.
Okay. May I?
Yeah.
Okay, so just before, during the break, Chopper was saying this is a conversation we need to normalize in Nigeria. And I'm like, I think it's normalized. I think Nigerians have accepted that there is this as the IVF. That the IVF is an option or an alternative for fertility. Do you think, in your practice, do you think Nigerians are more accepting of IVF, or do you think we're still struggling with it?
No, if we look at it from where we're coming from to now, I would say the acceptance is better, awareness is better, but however, the normalization are still not taking place. And that takes us to the social aspect of infertility, which is more than the medical aspect, because it's a social, if we're able to overcome the social aspect of infertility, then people will be able to get help. They will go to the right places without being exploited. Then, because when you look at our society, and I would say, I don't want to use the word unfortunate, but there's no there's no better word to use, that women are blamed for everything because they're the one that gets pregnant. So infertility in any relationship is obvious on the woman, because the woman that gets pregnant is the one that is not coming out with a big tummy, she's the one that is going to be ostracized. And in any case, even when they come for the treatment, women get treated for the problem of the man. Yes, because you imagine a situation in which a man has low sperm count or no sperm. Now we're going to do IVF. Who gets treated? It's the woman that takes the injection.
The procedure is done on the woman.
The procedure is done on the woman.
It's an unfortunate situation.
No, you see, but we need to overcome this by people should come out, they should become more aware. And because time to seek treatment is also very important.
Okay.
Because when the age of the woman, and to a reasonable extent, that of the man, determines whether you're going to be a parent or not. So because in most women, we are born with the total number of eggs that we're going to have in our lifetime. This is acquired when we're still in pregnancy and continues to decline until a point in which there's no egg anymore. So time is of essence. And, you know, if you're not aware or you're still undecided on where to seek the appropriate treatment, before you know it, before you realize that your options are limited.
That's so sad. So, okay.
Thank you, Doctor. So when you asked Sope how I felt at the beginning of the show, it just took my mind back to where I was raised. And I remember a particular woman who had her first baby at almost 50, and the whole state, I mean, I was in ABU, I needed to go back home because she just had a baby. And then I heard it was IVF, so truly IVF has brought a lot of joy, a lot of smiles. And she wasn't the first, but she wasn't the only one, but she was the first. So it's something I remember, and I'm super thankful to God. Doctor, I'd like to ask you, IVF has a problem, and that's the egg retrieval issue. Sometimes you hear that the eggs did not fertilize, the eggs are not strong enough. Is it safe to have somebody donate eggs for another person? Would they still work? Is it wrong? And you mentioned age. Is there a particular age that women stand maybe 90% risk of failure?
Well, yes, that's 90
questions.
That's two questions in one. No, I'll take the last one. The risk of failure increases as a woman grows older. After the age of 35, you know, the probability of conception in any woman is almost the same between the age of 18 and probably 30. And there's a slight decline between 30 and 35. But after 35, it's like falling over the cliff.
Wow.
And it's because it's a fall. It's a fall. But that varies from individual to individual. But it's a fall. It is a recognized fall. And that is why time is of essence. Because age plays a significant role. As women grow older, what happens is that you have decline in quantity and also the quality.
So talking about, are you...
No, the second question is, there's nothing wrong in another woman donating her eggs. It's just like the blood donation too. There's nothing wrong in taking blood to survive. Yeah, there are two different, the way to acquire donated eggs, or the procedure of donating eggs is a lot different. Don't let me say slightly, it's a lot different. It takes time. It takes a way convenience, because when you're doing the procedure, you can't leave the environment, you can't travel out of the town because of the procedure you're doing, and it's a bit invasive.
Not a bit, it's invasive.
No, I don't want to scare you.
So you have a question?
Yes, my question is actually on that egg donation. So egg harvesting for IVF procedures seems to be a booming business, even though we do not want to talk about it.
Yet I'm not a multi-billionaire.
So, and I know you are a member of the AFRH, that's Association of Fertility and Reproductive Health. Great. So how is that association ensuring safety standards and to ensure that these young girls, because most of the girls who actually donate their eggs are actually young, they are undergraduates and all.
Context?
You know,
Yes, yes, we can.
So how are we sure that these young girls are not being manipulated to donate their eggs at the expense of their health?
I want to just give context because there are a few stories going around about young girls, especially undergrad girls, who are have their eggs harvested almost on a regular basis for money. And people are wondering, especially, you know, that we know that a woman is born with a certain number of eggs. So we're thinking, are they aware? Yes. Are they aware? And as she said, your association, are you in any way involved with these clinics that do this so that the girls themselves know that it's not just about money today, it's something that may affect them in the future, especially because of how frequently they tend to do this?
I think we need to address the misconception there as well. Because the process of oocyte retrieval and donation is like we try to take advantage of natural physiology, in which the way it is that beginning, I'll use a monthly calendar as the beginning of a cycle. The way the body produces an egg is that you recruit a number of follicles, in which at one point in time, one of them acquire dominance. And the remaining, whether it's been recruited or not, the fate is sealed. It's like a kamikaze mission. So they don't go back into the body. So once recruited is recruited and the fate is, so even though the body will produce one egg at the end of the day, but when you give medication, you give equal opportunities to these follicles. It's not like they are taking away their
supply.
No, it's not like you remove the ovaries from the body. But however, just like any procedure, there are risks associated with it. I think is also responsibility on the physician to discuss these risks extensively so that they can make informed decision. Because I've also read on social media that is a booming trade that they export abroad, which is also a misconception. Imagine you want to export black eggs to a white Caucasian. So is that a good business sense, or who are going to use?
Some people want mixed-race children.
Well, not. Like you want to export Caucasian eggs to this part of the world. It's not going to be a booming...
Scandal.
Yes. It's not going to be a booming trade. And the way they trump up as if these people are being exploited at IVF clinics, they take so much and they give just a little. Number one, the idea is not to turn garments into commodities. So when you give compensation, compensation is for the inconvenience, the time, maybe lunch, transportation. That is compensation. It's not payment. So there should be a clear distinction between paying for.
Should be redefined.
Redefined. It's not
doing something noble instead of selling.
Yes, instead of selling, because that will degrade human dignity when you begin to sell garments. And in any case, the amount they claim that clinics collect, it's just what they pay the donor is just a fraction
of that amount.
There are other things. The medication is there, the treatment is there, utility and everything. But the idea of that is a booming trade, I think, is just
exaggeration.
Exaggeration. It's not.
But you see, considering the resulting challenge we have with human trafficking in Nigeria, people selling their kidney, people selling their... there was a strange one, I think their toes or something. There was one that they were a part of the body that I felt was so strange, and I was told they were cutting off and selling. And so when we hear that people can just walk into a clinic when they need money and sell their eggs as a woman, for me, it shouldn't be as allowed as a medical procedure. It shouldn't. I feel that the medical association, even though the medical system knows that there's need for eggs, it shouldn't be like it shouldn't be the same way you do it, but you're getting blood. They're two different. I don't think it should be the same way. But bringing it back to our society, and another part I want to just link to it is, we have a society that we're buying babies. You know, people, there was, I remember then when they were breaking those stories in some parts of Nigeria where you would say a baby factory. They will open like a 3-bedroom flat and it's like this is a hostel. You can have like 20 children or 20 young teenagers, and all of them are pregnant, some are giving birth, and they are selling those babies. So I think I'm happy that we seemingly have moved away from that, but are we moving into a better place in selling eggs?
No, see, because we are still falling into that trap of selling eggs. It's not because we need to change the narrative that whatever, and the reason why pain, because the people on social media is that these people have been exploited, the donors have been exploited. I take so much, and you are giving little. Payment should be discouraged at all costs.
Oh. So it's like donating blood, where
so payment should be discouraged at all costs. I just mentioned now, you can imagine in which a donor, maybe a specific features on a particular, I don't know, it's just going to, once you turn it into a commodity, it's going to put a price. And by the time the child is born from donated eggs, you know what is going to happen to that value? That humanity in it is completely lost. And you know, the same way men come forward to donate sperm, even though the procedure of sperm
is different.
It's
quite enjoyable.
It's not as
just 5 seconds.
Tedious, not as laborious, but it also gets compensated. And you know, one other thing is when you increase the amount paid, you will find people who ordinarily will decline donation, but they will be tempted to doing it. And rather than making informed decision based on their psychology, risk assessment, the money is going to tempt. Then you can imagine somebody that are going to pay, say, 200 versus 1 million. And other people can afford, and the moment you start paying for eggs, what you are going to do is also to deprive some beneficiaries, because it becomes, who can pay the highest get the services.
Okay. No, she was going to ask her.
Okay, so I was going to ask, so failed IVFs can be mentally, physically, and financially draining. And like you said, the success rate is between about, I think, 30 to 40%.
Well, it's getting better.
Getting better.
But not 100%.
But how do you advise women or couples who have actually invested a lot of money into this procedure? They've done it like 2, 3, 4 times, and it still hasn't... they still haven't gotten their own baby. How do you advise them? You
know, there are other alternatives. Okay. Adoption is one of them, which is an alternative. And, you know, in IVF, there are many procedures. Egg donation, you want to use your egg, surrogacy. So all those ones will form part of the advice after review. And, you know, the physician is actually, what we do is expectation management. Because it is not invariably successful. So imagine a situation in which a 25-year-old woman married to a 30-year-old man with no fibroid, no nothing, just we call them gold standard. The success rate is higher than somebody who is 38 in the same. So we need to manage the expectation, and that is why we carry out some tests. That Mrs. XY, your chance of having a baby is better with donor eggs or surrogate. Alternative, like I said, is an adoption, not buying babies.
Yes, please, I'm happy
I was going to say,
Mariam.
Thank you. Sir, do babies from IVF procedure, do they face any kind of risk in future?
Okay,
there's part 2, sir.
Okay.
I'll be quick. You and your double-loaded questions.
I'll be quick. So I one time saw a 34-year-old lady who got married in February. By August, she had opted for IVF. I felt, it's too soon. But she said 4 or 5 months is more than enough time to know that she needs help and she's not ready to waste any more time. So can you tell us the indicators for ladies, for those who are watching? How do they know that maybe I need to see a physician on this to be advised?
Well, your eggs ahead.
No, it's actually a very smart move, because if you already identify some factors in a woman who has regular menstrual period, you will probably understand that there's something wrong, that I don't need to wait. Or at some point before marriage, you've been diagnosed to have endometriosis. It's not time to wait. And maybe for some reason, you know, people have actually cohabited before the celebration of the official, you know, so they know, yes.
Yeah, so they know that there's
so they know there's a problem, and it's good to come forward and address that.
Okay, so the babies from
IVF. See, the babies from IVF, I'll tell you, the first babies, the first child from IVF was born today in 1978.
Yeah. So that's what they're celebrating?
No. That's what they say in the world.
Yeah, that's significant.
That's Louise Brown. Wow. You know, she has 2 children of her own, non-IVF related, non-IVF related, and her sister was born 4 years after, and who also was the first IVF conceived baby to have a child. So there's nothing, they do very well in school. I mean, just like
normal
human beings.
Okay,
so they're not extra.
I need to quickly throw in my. I know that they're able to pick. You can pick, you know, but let me let you.
That they've gone further. You can pick eyes and hair color. But I was going to ask about. I was going to ask about. You know, you mentioned that a woman after 35, you know, there's a sharp decline. And I'm also thinking men, because men have always been told, hey, Abraham had a baby at 100 years, you know. And so they feel, and as you know, in modern times, people are getting babies much later. They're getting married much later. And so babies are coming much later. But the men always feel like they're good, you know. So how does age affect, for men, the quality and quantity of their own?
You know what defines fertility in a man is the relative or absolute lack of sperm. And that which is different from the semen that they ejaculate. And the quality declines with age. Even the semen quantity, you see, the count for drops with age, maybe not to the same extent as the way that a woman will fall. Okay. But from age of 44, anything 40, but I think it starts to get significant from 44. But fertility in men declines. Okay. Count, motility, and morphology, they start to decline. And when you look at it, even the urge to have sex
drops.
Begin to drop.
Wow. We don't. Surprisingly, we had no phone call throughout your segment, but I think it's because it is extremely important, and we're totally out of time. But you shared a lot of things with us, and I'll just want to do a quick recount. If I'm misinforming the audience, please feel free to interrupt me. I'll run through it. 1, women should start the fertility drops sharply from 35, and it remains the same from 18 to 30. Around the same from 18 to 30, but so if you're above 35 and getting married, you should be aware that you should work on yourself fast, getting to see a gynecologist. For men, it declines from around 40, 44, thereabout. There's nothing wrong with IVF babies. They are normal. They are intelligent. There's no stigma attached to having a baby through IVF. And donating eggs is not a... It shouldn't be sold. It's not commercial. It's not a commercial thing. It should be a voluntary thing out of the goodness of your heart to support. And I think for those that have issues with their egg, they can collect their eggs from their sisters and siblings. It might help us as well. If you see, at the end of the day, IVF is a healthy alternative to dealing with infertility. And if someone is going through that, please, today was the day the first child from IVF was born. So it's a reminder that you shouldn't limit God in how he performs his miracle in your life. That's what we can take on the show today. Thank you so much, Dr. Babatunde Ogunkunle. And thank you, ladies, for an amazing show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, ladies.
Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye.